Hey, how's it going, guys? I just wanted to make this video today to kind of talk about two products that I recently bought. And the reason I'm making the video is because I couldn't find that much information on them, and I really like them, so I'd like to kind of share what those products are and what I kind of liked and don't like about them. So, the first product that I bought was I believe it's called the Verizon Wear24 Android watch, which I have right here. We'll get a better look at it later. So that's an Android watch. And the second product that I bought was the Lenovo ThinkPad X270 laptop. And again, we'll get a better look at that later. Both of these I bought online via eBay, which I've never actually bought in like expensive electronics through eBay. This is the first time that I was a little nervous, but everything turned out okay. And yeah. Okay, so this is the Verizon Wear24 Android smartwatch. I had always kind of wanted a smartwatch, but I didn't want to pay $300 or more for it. I always just kind of like the idea of being able to get notifications on my watch rather than on my phone, because if I have it in my pocket, I'm programming or I'm at school or whatever. So let me give you a little bit of background. Well, actually, first let's go over the watch, then I'll give you background on the watch itself. So the watch itself has a beautiful display. It's kind of hard to tell because my camera is terrible, but the display is really nice on it. It's probably one of my favorite features is just how nice the display looks on it. It's very flat. It's a thicker watch for sure, the back. That being said, one of the biggest advantages that I've found so far with this watch is just the battery life. You'll see my little battery indicator right there, that small little thing on this watch face. This watch can easily last up to, so far for me, at least 18 hours, and that's with an always-on display. If I turn the always-on display off, or if I used a more minimal watch face, I could probably get even longer life. So it is a very long-lasting watch. Again, you can touch and you can open up your apps by pressing the button on the side. I'll put it in a way so that you guys can actually see. There we go. That's better. So then from here you can actually swipe through your apps and use them however you'd like. Like I said, my camera's really bad, so I'm not actually giving this watch justice for what it actually is. But it's a really nice watch. And the craziest thing about it that I've found so far is just the fact that while it is supposed to only run on Verizon, I'm in Canada, there is no Verizon, I can actually run it with my watch or with my phone just fine and receive notifications. So I use a texting app called Textra on my cell phone, and I'll just send a little pretend notification right now. So as you can see, testing 1, testing 2, and as you can also see, it disappears, but I have on this watch face just a little notification saying, hey, just in case you're aware, or you weren't aware, you have a notification. And if I press that, you see, if I press that, and then I press the bottom button here, and reply, there's 3 different ways to reply. I can reply with my voice, I can draw an emoji, or I can hit the keyboard and type on the keyboard. So let's just go ahead and reply with this. Good work. Good on you. And then we can hit send. And it will send the text message, and then we're back to our home screen. So at first, though, the watch was definitely not as intuitive as it is now. I had a lot of issues with it when I first got it. And that's something that I will talk about included in this review. But overall, like I said, it's a great watch. Just like any other Android smart watch, there's lots of watch faces that you can put on if you'd like. I like this one a lot. It's just a terminal. It's hard to tell because my camera's terrible, but it's just like a little Linux terminal where you can see your time and date and whatnot. But overall, like I said, the watch is very nice. It lasts a long time. Some people I heard complain about the vibration, how it's very soft vibration for notifications. I didn't find this to be a problem myself, but then again, this is my first smartwatch, so I could be very biased on that. Okay, so about the smartwatch, I kind of wanted to share my experience with it because it was an experience, to say the least. So I bought the watch on sale on eBay for $80 Canadian. Honestly, I probably would never have thought of buying an Android watch or a smartwatch in general if it hadn't been for the low price. And there's a reason behind that. So the Android watch, the Wear24, this watch is actually discontinued from what I've seen. They don't actually make it anymore. It's made by Verizon, and it was meant to have a SIM card in it, meaning that you could basically use the watch without your cell phone. That was fine and dandy, but when it came out, it had all these features, but it had a price tag of $350 Canadian. So I think a lot of people kind of looked at it and said, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that, which a lot of other smartwatches do. Why are you charging $360? And it kind of flopped. So I don't know if this is a regular thing, but from what I've read on Reddit and other forums, lots of people have been seeing them go on sale for $50 to $100 Canadian, anywhere in between there. I saw, like I said, on eBay for $80, and I was like, hey, why not? When the watch got here, it was actually terrible. It was a really bad device. It wouldn't update. It would sit there and it would say updating 80 something percent, 90 something percent, and it would hit 100 and it would say could not update. And then you try again and again, and it would get hot. It got really, really hot while it was charging, and it was just awful. It was still running pre-Android Wear 2.0 update, meaning that there's no app store. There's very limited interaction with the watch itself. So I actually was really fortunate and talked to some people that were very helpful on Reddit, who had purchased the watches themselves. And one person said, because I said the update is failing, how do I get this to work? And there were a bunch of people saying, oh, use ADB and push it manually. And I was like, if I can, I know I program a lot, and that's a big hobby as well as work for me. But I prefer to do it the way it's meant to if I absolutely can. So what I ended up doing was talking to him. He said that the best way to get it to update is to disconnect the watch from your phone via, like, it's Bluetooth connection, so you disconnect it, and then just connect the watch itself to your Wi-Fi network. And when I did that, it easily updated. I got Wear 2.0 update, and when I had that, app started to work, everything started to work, it wasn't laggy anymore, and notifications started working. I disabled SIM cards and things like that through the Verizon app itself, and I stopped having the issues that I was having before. So all in all, for $80, I'll say that this watch for $80 is worth it, 100% in my book. If you're looking for a smartwatch to count your steps, this will count your steps. For a smartwatch to give you notifications and to allow you to text from it, to control your music while your phone is in your pocket or something like that, or to even put music on it yourself, which I haven't tried yet, so I shouldn't say that, but I've read that you can put music on it yourself. So for that value, for $80, I would say it's 100% worth it. The updating process and the initial reaction, my reaction to the watch was not pleasant. It was a pain, but once that's done, it's a cheap and a pretty awesome device. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the ThinkPad X270, and you're probably all wondering, well, you did a video not long ago talking about how to install Ubuntu and all this stuff on your Surface Pro 4. Why didn't you stick with your Surface Pro? I still have my Surface. I'm not sure if I'm going to sell it or if I'm going to keep it. So the reason that I got a new laptop was because I initially bought my Surface Pro 4 from a friend that I knew, and I got it open box, really cheap, and I bought the 4 gigabyte of RAM version with an i5, which at the time I thought, yeah, that's fine. As you get further into programming, and especially now I'm getting more into mobile development, so running emulators on the computer, running Android Studio, things like that, it really does pull a lot of power from the memory, especially on my Surface. And unfortunately, you can't open up the Surface Pro. You can't just say, well, I love the screen, I love everything else, I'll just replace the RAM. I wish it was like that. It's not. So I did a lot of research on laptops. I was almost ready to buy a MacBook, but I didn't turn to the dark side. I ended up getting the ThinkPad X270, and I can kind of I guess the reasons I bought it was more ports. I really wanted to be able to upgrade it. Should I need? Sorry, my camera's a little close to me. I really wanted to be able to upgrade the laptop should I need, and the MacBook and the Surface are very similar in that once you buy it, that's what you have. You can't replace the RAM, you can't replace the processor, anything like that, without a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of pain. The thing about the ThinkPad, I'll grab it right here. The thing about the ThinkPad itself is that you can replace the RAM and the hard drive quite easily. And to me, that's a huge win. And yeah, so let's take a look at it, and I'll show you what I like and what I don't like, and we'll go from there. Okay, so again, I apologize for not only my terrible video quality, but my messy room. Let's move that. So here we have the ThinkPad. I'll try and get it in view. There we go. The ThinkPad X270. And when I bought it, honestly, I read all about it and I looked into it. I didn't know how small it was going to be. So for comparison, I have my Surface Pro here, and you can kind of, let me move my camera a little bit. You can kind of get an idea. This is the Surface Pro, and that's the X270. So very similar. When it comes to thickness, obviously, the Surface Pro 4 is much thinner than the X270. But let's move the Surface over there. But let's take a look at the X270 itself. We'll turn it on. All right, so this is the X270. The one really nice thing that it has is it has a fingerprint scanner, which will log me in automatically. The touchpad, here, let me turn up the brightness here. Oh, that actually looks terrible on my camera. Okay, good enough. The touchpad is very nice. I really like the touchpad. That being said, the greatest feature of this has got to be the keyboard. The keyboard is beautiful, it's backlit, and it's very nice to use when it comes to programming, things like that. All of the multi-touch gestures on the trackpad work great. So switching to another, oh, I already switched. Switching from desktop to desktop works just fine. The screen is obviously not as beautiful as the screen of the Surface. Here, I'll pull the Surface out. That way I can kind of give you the Surface screen is a little bit, it's more glossy, right? So you can see the color of my PC in the background of it, whereas the screen on the X270 is much more matte. I know there's a name for that, but yeah, you can kind of see the difference. Obviously, the screen of the Surface is going to be much prettier looking in general because it is a 4K screen. This screen, however, is, from what I read of a lot of reviews, the worst part about this laptop. The speed of this laptop is phenomenal. The battery life is also something very, very interesting. I kind of want to show you guys. So if I click on the battery here, you'll notice that, let me bring it closer. It says that there's 2 batteries. This is true. On the X270, and I think a lot of ThinkPad models, I don't know because this is my first ThinkPad, there are actually 2 batteries. So you have, it's ugly. There's a battery here, which is detachable, and then there's a internal battery inside of the ThinkPad itself, giving it a long battery life. I bought this used and paid a good amount, not as much as I paid for my Surface Pro 4 when I bought it new. This came with 8 gigs of RAM and a 200 gigabyte SSD. I've already ordered a 16 gigabyte stick of RAM to put in it, to just increase that speed and to make it even faster than it already is. But yeah, that being said, for mobile development, for heavy programming and stuff like that, I have not found any issues with overheating, which I saw some people talking about with the X270, and it's just been an all-around great laptop. So for anybody who's looking for a laptop that's really small, very portable, it's very light, which is what I was surprised by, I think, the most, because it looks from pictures it looks kind of bulky, but it's not actually that bulky. And from the side you can kind of get a view of the ports. Sorry, I have a terrible camera, but we're running a USB-A, USB-C, HDMI, and the charger cable right there. On the other side of the laptop we have headphone jack, another USB-A, Ethernet, card reader. It has a whole lot more ports, which I think was a big selling feature for me compared to a MacBook. But yeah. Okay, so that pretty much does it for my review of the Wear24 Verizon smartwatch and the ThinkPad X270. In conclusion, like I said, I paid under $1,000 for the X270. It's a great laptop so far. I bought it used. Keep in mind that mine is the i5 version. There is an i7 version. I went with the i5 version simply because I don't necessarily need that powerful of a processor, and I'm a student, so I'm always on a budget. So absolutely worth it. Great machine. Display could definitely use some work. It's not a 4K Surface or Retina display like a MacBook. That being said, I feel like you're getting more bang for your buck with the ThinkPad. The watch, like I mentioned, I paid $80 Canadian for it, and I think it's worth every penny. It's very fun, and it's cheap, and it's nice to have notifications on it. Let me know what you guys would like to see next. I've been kind of, like I mentioned earlier, I've been getting more into mobile development using React Native, doing a lot of JavaScript, also been doing a lot of database work, stuff like that. So if that's something that's interesting to you guys, let me know, and I will definitely post videos on that or any other topic that anybody seems interested in.